So you had mentioned that you had done a Kickstarter and that you were just fulfilling it recently. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how that's been going for you? Because that's like another stream of income.
Yeah.
And, how did that come about and how was the experience so far anyway?
It's a really fun diversification, like income diversification, right? Because I took a long time to try the Kickstarter route because I just wanted it to settle out after the whole Sanderson hype and all that stuff. Like I just want to see what happens here. And I only did it because my readers were asking for hardcovers and special editions. They're asking a lot. So I was like, all right, we'll try it. And the goal was I want a big chunk of money that I want to create a process with these Kickstarters and I want a $10,000 profit so that I can like punt that $10,000 into savings and prove out payroll for a few months, right? So every time we're in a Kickstarter, 10,000 profit, proved payroll, and then everything is profit from there. And so that requires you to actually like establish the Kickstarter process, the cost, like whatever happens. So I said, we'll try it for 4 books and decide after that if this is like a worthy thing to keep doing. And if the setup of it is something I can punt to my VA and then I just am present for the marketing and that kind of thing. So we're still proving that out. We did the 2nd special edition. The 3rd one's coming up. We're optimizing it now. Like obviously we had some lessons to learn, things we didn't do well, like forgetting a ribbon. Obviously we're pivoting. I love it so far. And here's why, because Kickstarter provides 50% of the people. And this is the crazy thing about Kickstarter as a platform. And why I love them is I have people I've never heard of dropping $150 on my hardcovers. They don't know who I am. It looks pretty. So they're just dropping $150 on my hardcovers. And I'm like, I'll take that all day, every day. If you're going to bring those people to me, sure, you can have 5% of my overall Kickstarter. And so I, of course, track the numbers pretty carefully. And I've done 4 Kickstarters, 2 are children's books, 2 are special editions, and across the board on all 4, Kickstarter has supplied, according to their metrics, if you trust their metrics, over 50% of the sales. But you can look at the readership and actually peg out, like, I don't know that person, I don't know that person, I don't know that person, I don't know that person.
Sure.
Or I know that person, I know that person, like on my list, like from my list that I've recognized. And you can kind of track that data a little bit too. So for me, I love it. It's fun. It opens up a new market audience because I do in-person sales too. So to have like really pretty foil sprayed edge hardcovers, it's a $60 to $75 price point in person that people can look at and be like, I want right now. So instead of like selling them a $20 paperback, I sell them 2 $75 hardcovers and my average order value just like quadrupled. So yeah, overall, after having done 2 and preparing for the 3rd, I really like it. The 4th will kind of give me the data that I need to know if I'll keep doing it. But if I do, the plan is that's pretty easy, right? Like every 6 or so months, my designer knows it's coming. My VA knows it's coming. I've created a standard operating procedure and we just, like my launches, we just kick it out so readers know what to expect. And then we just kind of track to make sure we're getting new people and satisfying the ones that come back year over year.
Right. So are these standalone books that you, for like the sprayed edged special editions, is that like a special, or is it a standalone, or are you doing like that same procedure with like books in the same series?
So it's the same series, yeah. So it's the network series that I'm most known for. So we did the 1st book, 2nd book, 3rd book. 3rd book is in July, and then 4th book after that. And if it's just not making sense, then those are the special editions we'll have. If it's making sense, we'll just get all of the Bianca ones done that we have. It'll be 12 by the end of the year. And then we would just go to a different series. The cool thing is I will never run out of special editions to like produce because I have so many books, right? So like we could do a special edition every 6 months for the rest of my life and probably still never catch up if I keep going the way. So it's something that I have ideas for and set goals for. So far, I'm achieving the goals that are justifying at least getting the first 4 books in the network series is volume 1. So we're at least going to get volume 1 in special edition, and then we'll kind of reevaluate from there.
Right.
Now, will you always have the special editions on Kickstarter, or is there any temptation to sell those direct or maybe even launch a new release with a special edition?
I sell them direct after, for sure. Like you can go onto my website because I go through all of my orders every day, like, and just look and see what's sold. So if someone buys one, I can just crank it out. But I don't plan on launching off Kickstarter just because they bring so many special Like I could not find those people on my own without a lot of Facebook ad money. So no, it's just like I've been very intentionally like I want to build the audience there that knows to expect me every 6 months or whatever. I want to eventually like say July and December, not December because that'd be a terrible month to do this, but like have like, okay, May and November are the months we do it, or I think March and September, honestly, probably ideal because you avoid the quarter craze. And then they just know on Kickstarter, like it's March, another Katie Cross special edition. And that audience on Kickstarter then has expectations of what I will bring them. And I'm happy to pay Kickstarter and Stripe. So it's like 10% between Kickstarter and Stripe. And I'm happy to do that because I don't think it would happen on my store the same.
Sure. Well, especially they're bringing so much of that audience. And in a way, interesting thing here, and I'm sure this is something like, you already know this, obviously, but you've got this diversification of income streams going on that I don't think that a lot of authors, I think they see it as black and white. It's like, well, I've got to be in KU or I've got to do direct sales and be wide. Or I've got to be or I've got to do a Kickstarter with my launch, or I've got to do, or I just got to ignore it completely. And you've got these three things going. Obviously, your direct store is probably is what's paying the bills.
Right.
KU, this new series going into KU and all of that. And then you have your Kickstarters as well. And they're each their own independent thing which there's some challenges. And I know that will come along with that. Like that's more plates you have to keep spinning for people who are just getting started. That's probably something to aspire to, but it's interesting at that advanced level. Like you're not picking and choosing between those different options. You're doing direct sales this way. And you're going to approach KU this way because this is another revenue stream and it's another audience. I like how you refer to it as like an audience. And Kickstarter is another audience. And there's lots of things out there to think of it that way. I think is a paradigm shift for a lot of authors who have maybe written off like, well, I'm in KU. Direct sales is not something I can even think about. Or yeah, Kickstarter sounds like too much of a headache, which maybe for some it is, but yeah. If you can bring I imagine part of it is also you got to bring some of the audience for Kickstarter to really
for sure
spread the word. So there's that aspect of it too. You might have trouble with no audience just throwing something on Kickstarter and hoping that it's gonna go well. But yeah, I like how you phrase it that way as audiences, and you're able to see them that way, and then to also give them what they're expecting, and those expectations are going to be different in different settings as well.
Well, and I think the important thing to emphasize here, right, is that no matter what, my work never actually changes. So it's not like I'm creating Afghans to sell on KDP.
Yeah.
Like I'm writing books, right? And this is very important too. I'm staying in like genres that like I'm not going from like thriller, mystery, crime novels to fantasy. This is like my teen romantasy is almost seamless against my young adult fantasy. You know what I mean? Like they're the same. So really at the end of the day, I'm still just writing and narrating and producing books. I'm just doing them in different ways across different platforms. That's very important because the whole heart of this operation runs because I know my writing process. And so by knowing my writing process, I then know how much time I have to give to, okay, well, what if we put a book in KU? What does that mean? That means this much time needs to go to whatever. And the other thing that I want to say is the reason that the KU diversification is coming is because my husband and I we need to build an addition on our house. And I was like, cool. Like, how do I get a second mortgage? Like, I need another income stream I can generate like a second mortgage from. And I was like, well, let's try this. This would be really fun. And so I started putting out feelers and we got things going. That's another way I think people don't know to look at this business. Like, well, I want this at my house, or I want this to live my best life. So how do I adapt my business to bring me more money, but not change what I'm doing?
I think you're a really good example of someone who you're checking all the boxes. I mean, just here with going into KU and doing Kickstarter, like you're doing all the things, and then you're doing all the formats, right? That to some authors that sounds overwhelming. But the key there is that what you're saying is like your writing process stays the same. And that's the consistent part. And that being consistent is what lets you do all those things. Because I've talked to authors who are like, well, I wrote a book in this genre, and then I was really inspired to write a book in this completely different genre. And so, then they're kind of going this direction, and then they're going in this direction. I think that can be a little distracting when you're trying to build momentum on something. This, I think, is kind of well, I'll let you answer that first, but
I think I would never want to put a blanket statement down that says don't like try different genres
Sure.
and don't hop, because there are examples of people that have phenomenal results with that, especially if you're looking at romance. Like, I feel like you can really genre hop like different romances and still do fine.
sure,
But
sure.
me, in my experience, I did try that. I did clean contemporary romance with fantasy, and I just couldn't make both work. So I got rid of the clean contemporary romance and I just focused on fantasy. I genuinely love writing fantasy. I sometimes write actually, most of the time I write for 5 hours a day, right? So like I'm on my computer for 5 hours writing. It's like my best life. It couldn't be any happier. So it makes it easy to then diversify the offerings. And the Kickstarter, I'm not generating new content. Like, I have to coordinate the cover design, but I'm not writing a new book for that. So I can standardize that process, hand it off to Megan, and she knows how to fill it out with graphics. You know what I mean? So at some point, eventually, depending on where you're at in your author journey and what you're willing to let go of, you can create your SOPs, standardize your process, and then you are writing to create more of the content for the other.
Right. Because you're the only one who can do that, right?
Right.
I mean, I suppose you could hire somebody to do the writing for you, but then
And as some people do, right? Like they start.
that's fine.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.